Hey guys, are you ready to transform your mind so you can transform your life? Coach Myrna brings you one-on-one coaching and expert guests weekly to help you to grow. Because happiness is the progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Looking for personal growth? Let's do it. Isn't that the sweetest sound? That's the sound of another sale or another dollar hitting your Shopify e-commerce store. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. It's the home of the #1 checkout on the planet. Sign up for $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/transform, all lowercase. Let me tell you about a cellular service that's saving me money every single month, and that is Mint Mobile. I switched to Mint Mobile a few months ago, and honestly, I wish I had done it sooner. But we were locked into a plan paying over $100 per month. With Mint Mobile, you get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. Yes, you heard that right. With unlimited talk, text, and high-speed data on the nation's largest 5G network. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer and your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/transform. That's mintmobile.com/transform.
Stressors that were impacting me that I wasn't aware of. They were happening, but I wasn't aware of them because I was so focused on my dream that I was ignoring all the signs that my body was giving me. It was saying, listen, it was turning on all the alarms. And I was just like, yeah, I'll keep training anyway. Now, in SEAL training, you have to have that mindset because if you don't have that mindset, the instructor cadre, they're going to figure a way to get you out of the program because they want guys that have that mindset. Because when you're in the field and let's say one of your teammates gets shot, you got to drag him out of the field. You can't whine like, oh, my back hurts or my neck hurts. Because if you get in that mindset, you could die.
You can die.
Yeah, and it's a different game. In the SEAL teams is your mistakes lead to serious injury and potential death, not only for you, but of your teammates. And I left the SEAL teams. It was still operating underneath that idea. And it wasn't a conscious choice. It was just how I had been programmed.
Welcome back to the Transform Your Mind to Transform Your Life radio, podcast, and television show. I'm your host, life coach Myrna Young. And sitting in the guest chair today is a return guest, Christopher Lee Maher, Navy SEAL and health coach. And today, Christopher and I are going to be talking on the topic, fit but not healthy, unpacking the fitness versus health myth. Welcome back, Christopher.
Hey, happy to be here.
Yeah, hey, I love returning guests. Yes, the last time you were on the show, we talked about issues in your tissues. And I love that conversation because since then I've had so many people on the show that are talking about how we hold issues in our tissues. But this time we're going in a totally different direction. So,
Yes.
All right. Awesome. All right. So let me give you guys an intro again. At 22, Christopher Lee Maher was a Navy SEAL with 1.8% body fat and Olympic dreams. But by the time he was 30, relentless stress took a hidden toll, leaving him with chronic pain, hearing loss, insomnia, and burnout. Determined to heal, he spent 7 years rebalancing every aspect of his body and mind, developing the true body intelligence system. Drawing from traditional Chinese medicine and Western science, Christopher now helps elite athletes in sport, entertainment, and business unlock their full potential. From his Los Angeles practice, he's an author, inventor, and wellness innovator committed to guiding others towards optimal health and lifelong vitality. Hey, that last sentence there was the best one of all the ones that I said. Because yes, we want to have a lifelong, vitality. We don't want to spend the last 10 years of our life lying in a bed or sitting in a wheelchair. So that's amazing. All right. So, as we get started, Christopher, what would you say were the contributing factors from you going from 1% body fat and fit to chronic pain and burnout? Can you walk us through that?
Yeah, I think what happened for me was I was applying a SEAL team mindset to everything that I was doing, even though I was no longer in the SEAL teams, right? So I was burning the candle at both ends. And in between the time of burning those candles, I was going 110% every second of the day. And I thought at the time naively that, look, if you just drive forward and you put your foot on the gas, as long as you care and you're loving what you're doing and you're disciplined, it'll all work out. And when it wasn't working out in the way that I thought it would, at the pace that I thought it would, I pushed harder and I pushed faster. And then my body pushed back at me and said, hey, mister, you're going to take a seat in the corner. Yeah, I'm no longer cooperating with whatever these ideas are. And so I had entertained limiting beliefs and I took them to their edge. And then the universe said, well, let me show you the limitations of that belief. And it started to turn up the amount of pain that I had in my body, right? So it went from plantar fasciitis was the first one. I remember getting out of bed in the morning. I was living in San Diego at the time in Point Loma. I put my foot on the ground to go to the bathroom. I was like, ooh, that hurts.
Yeah.
But I still kept training. And then one morning I woke up and I was like, oh, that thing is finally gone. And then a week later, iliotibial band friction syndrome, just outside of the left part of my knee. And I kept training and moving through that. And 2 months later, that was gone. And then boom, I had runner's knee, which is in the patella tendon where it attaches to the issue tuberosity just beneath the left knee. And then I kept training and that went away. And then it turned into compartment syndrome in my left calf, which was horrible kind of injury to have. And so it just crawled all the way up my body.
Oh.
And then I was in a car accident all the way up to my neck and at every single joint. And then eventually I got in a car accident and then it went into the center of my hip and I couldn't get rid of it no matter what I did. And then all of the pain from all the joints all started throbbing simultaneously.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
So then I had to look in the mirror and go, hey, there has to be something wrong here.
Wow. So when you say you were training, you were running? Is that what you were
I
doing?
was running, weight training, long distance running, weight training, sprinting, calisthenics, plyometrics, like everything you can think of that someone would do who had an Olympic dream, yet
Wow.
had the right mindset, but the wrong belief.
And process too. The wrong
Yeah.
process, I would think, right?
Yeah. And so, when you start missing sleep and you're, what's going to happen? You're not going to recover from the stress from the day before. And so I had all of these complex stressors that were impacting me that I wasn't aware of. They were happening, but I wasn't aware of them because I was so focused on my dream that I was ignoring all the signs that my body was giving me. It was saying, listen, it was turning on all the alarms. And I was just like, yeah, I'll keep training anyway. Now, in SEAL training, you have to have that mindset because if you don't have that mindset, the instructor cadre, they're going to figure a way to get you out of the program because they want guys that have that mindset. Because when you're in the field and let's say one of your teammates gets shot, you got to drag him out of the field. You can't whine like, oh, my back hurts or my neck hurts. Because if you get in that mindset, you could die.
You can die.
Yeah, and it's a different game. And the SEAL teams is your mistakes lead to serious injury and potential death, not only for you, but of your teammates. And I left the SEAL teams. It was still operating underneath that idea. And it wasn't a conscious choice. It was just how I had been programmed.
Hmm. I like that word. How you've been programmed. Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my last interview was with an endurance athlete that, climbed Mount Everest and row across the Atlantic and all that and pushing himself. So I always thought that if you push yourself, then you break barriers. I didn't know that your body, pushes back.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It pushes back and it says, listen, I need some time off.
Right.
I need to repair. I need to restore. I need to heal. I need to process. I need to integrate. And I was
Yeah.
like, nope, we're going on to the next thing.
We're going on to the next thing. Well, of all the things that you called, I had plantar fasciitis because I'm a walker, never really ran, but I'm walking. And you're right, that's extremely painful. But I still kept walking with mine. I think a couple of times I went and got some, one of the cortisol shots in it, but it goes and comes. But because I love walking, so I continued. And I've known of people that run with broken foot, just strap it up and all that, and they kept going. So, but yeah, so that's amazing. So were you saying, because our conversations today is fitness versus the health myth. So are you saying that when you were pushing yourself on full throttle, running and training and weightlifting and doing all the things to get you to Olympic superstardom, you were fit, but you weren't healthy? Is that where that the
Yeah.
quits we're doing that?
Yeah. I think what we're saying is just because you're fit, it doesn't mean you're healthy. Right. And
What do you define in health as? Because,
as health.
you know, we're talking about your joints giving out, but health could be cardiovascular health, be, you know, I don't know, metabolic health, that kind of thing.
Could be mental health.
Right.
Could be
Exactly.
emotional health.
Okay.
Could be structural health. Could be physiological health.
Okay.
Right. And so I think probably the conversation that I wanted to have with the public is fitness is one aspect of health.
Mm.
And it isn't the defining measure of how someone should look at themselves when they think about being healthy. And when we talk about being healthy structurally, we mean there's no pain in my joints. I have full range of motion in every position, zero pain, zero restriction, right? When we talk about physiological health, right, and sense organ health, it means my vision is good, my hearing is good, my taste is good, my smell is good, my touch is good, and my extrasensory perception is high. Okay. Then when we talk about physiological health, it means that all of my organs are in functioning order. So I digest my food really, really well. I absorb the nutrients from the chyme, from the chewed up food, through the walls of my small intestine. My blood is very thick, dark, and strong. Okay. I have very little stickiness. The motility, the shape, the size, the color of my red blood cells are correct. The size of my white blood cells, instead of being a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or 5, are or 4, or 5 to a 6. So my immune system is very high. And all of my organs, again, are in functioning order. So my elimination is good. I move my bowels at a minimum once a day, at a maximum 3 times a day. The bowel is easy to move, well formed, comes out solid, isn't sticky, isn't hard, isn't runny. My resting heart rate sits between 55 and 65 to 70. You start looking at all these different measures. My blood pressure is in that 120/80. And you start looking at all these things. And you have to go, oh, okay. So those are things. But now let's talk about mental health, right? I have very little paranoia. I'm able to understand the things that the people are saying. I'm fully self-expressed. I make good decisions. I'm decisive. My emotional health is good. I have a good, strong sense of freedom, an indomitable sense of hope, an indomitable will. I'm passionate and creative. My spiritual health is good, meaning I'm honoring my ethics, my morals, my values, my principles on a daily basis. And my physiological, and structural health is good. And I'm following my guttural responses, tuning into my instincts. I'm taking heartfelt action to my own benefit and the benefit of others in relationship to my values. And I'm fully empowered. I'm living in my own truth. I'm forgiving in the places where I feel angry and cut off. And I'm willing to defend myself and those that I love.
Wow, that's a big list. And I can almost guarantee that someone that is focused on training is not going to have all of those. Wow, because they're focusing on running marathons. Like if you're training for a running run or even the Ironman competition where you're just going all out. Wow, that's a big list.
Yeah, it's a big list.
That's a big list.
Yeah.
So you talk about in your bio that you coach elite athletes. Do you look at that whole picture that you just said when you coach them?
Yeah, definitely. So, I work with world champions and Olympic champions and four-time NCAA champions. And, my job is to help them be successful. And of course, they're athletes. So they show up with what? Ah, my wrist hurts or my thumb hurts and they're taped up or my knee hurts or my back is stiff or I can't rotate my head to the left or I can't rotate my head to the right and their bodies are just tired and stiff. And so I do everything that I can to begin to teach them how to remove and reduce their lifetime accumulated stress load so that they're sleeping really deep and recovering from the immense stress that they put their bodies under on a daily basis.
Let me tell you about a cellular service that's saving me money every single month, and that is Mint Mobile. I switched to Mint Mobile a few months ago, and honestly, I wish I'd done it sooner. But we were locked into a plan paying over $100 per month. With Mint Mobile, you get premium wireless service starting at just $15 a month. Yeah, you heard that right. With unlimited talk, text, and high speed data on the nation's largest 5G network. So, this summer, say bye bye to your overpriced wireless plans, jaw dropping monthly bills, and unexpected overages. Mint Mobile is here to rescue you. Use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with your existing contacts. For a limited time, Mint Mobile is offering 3 months of unlimited premium wireless service for $15 a month. So while your friends are sweating over data overages and surprise charges, you'll be chilling, literally and financially. This year, skip breaking a sweat and breaking the bank. Get this new customer offer in your 3-month unlimited wireless plan for just $15 a month at mintmobile.com/transform. That's MINTMOBILE.com/transform. Note, upfront payment of $45 required, equivalent to $15 a month. Limited time new customer offer for first 3 months only. Speeds may slow above 35 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Taxes and fees extra. See Mint Mobile for details. I've been an entrepreneur since early 90s, even winning the Entrepreneur of the Year award. But when I first thought of starting my business, I had the passion and the vision, but zero clue where to start when it came to selling online. This is where Shopify can help. Shopify helps you set up your digital storefront. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world and 10% of all e-commerce in the US. From household names like Mattel and Drew House to brands just getting started.
Whether you're selling physical products, digital downloads, or services, Shopify has everything you need to launch, manage, and scale your business. Shopify is also packed with helpful AI tools that write product descriptions, page headlines, and even enhance your product photography. Get the word out like you have a marketing team behind you. Easily create email and social media campaigns wherever your customers are scrolling or strolling. And best yet, Shopify helps you transform your business with expertise in everything from managing inventory to processing returns. So, if you're ready to sell, you're ready to Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for $1 per month trial period and start selling today at shopify.com/transform. Go to shopify.com/transform.
Wow. Wow.
And if we can do that, then they can be more successful than their peers. And it happens to be that they are, right? They're ridiculously successful. So since I've been on board, the team that I work with has won the NCAA championships 4 times in a row. The last 2 years, they've scored the most points in NCAA history. The year before, and then this year they broke that, and I assume this coming year they will break that again. And so, I just want to see these guys live out their dream, right? And live out their passion. And so I give them the information that would have helped me have that success, right? No one, when I was training hard, was saying, look, we got to look at your stress levels, right? We need to manage your sleep. We need to look at everything that you're eating. We got to make sure that you're communicating, you're having time to relate and be social and emotional. We have to sit down and make sure that you're honoring your principles, your values, and your morals every day. Let's take a look at that. And so there was no guidance. I had someone who was telling me, run this far, run this fast, lift this weight. Lift this much weight this many times and do these calisthenics and plyometrics this often. And if you do that often enough and you show up with a good attitude, the chances are you'll have an opportunity to live out your dream. And that was true to an extent. But because I went through SEAL training, SEAL teams, and my body had so much cold trapped inside of it from being in the cold ocean for that long and that often, that it had shut down my kidneys' ability to keep my joints healthy because I was always robbing from Peter to pay Paul. So imagine every human has a bank account of energy, and the universe says, look, when you're born, we're going to give you $1 billion worth of energy. Well, I was spending mine faster than I was generating. And what I mean by that is that if you look at the bank account as your core energy and you're spending Friday's reserve of money on Monday, then eventually your bank account is going to be deficient no matter how much money they give you. So I was spending it faster than I was restoring it. So rather than spending my interest, I was always spending my capital, and I was spending the next capital.
Interest instead of capital. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so that put me in a deep deficit, and the insufficiency of my sleep, I could never make up for that deficit.
No, you can't. So that is one thing, because, when I do a little bit of weight training, they're always telling you to, not on your level, but they're always telling you that you should only go like 3 times a week because you got to give your body time to recover. So I understand the thing about recovering. But let's say that you were training for the Olympics, right? And you got a 12-hour workday, because I know I've seen people say that they work 12 hours a day. I don't know how much sleep they get. But let's say you do that for a limited amount of time, for like 4 hours. For 4 years to get to the Olympics. Then what you're saying is that you've got to stop pushing your body that much and then just go into a maintenance mode. Is that what the correct philosophy is?
I think the philosophy is this, is that once your body gives you a symptom, whether it's a sore throat, whether it's a headache, whether it's some joint pain, whether it's the neck, the shoulders, the elbows, the wrist, the hips, the low back, the knees, the ankles, the toes or fingers, you've already gone too far,
Mm-hmm.
right? And
Okay.
like, for instance, let's say you eat a big meal and 3 days in a row, your body's having difficulty digesting that, or you're constipated for 2.5 days. Your body's letting you know, hey, you're going too hard, too long, too fast. I need you to take a break. And as you pull away from that and you get sufficient sleep, then what's going to happen is that symptom's going to disappear. And so I think the thing that I'm informing people on to let them know is that whenever you get your first symptom, that's your first sign that you've already gone too far, because pain is the last indication that something is wrong. Most people assume that it's the first, and it's the opposite of what they're thinking. And so if you show up, let's say you're going to the NCAA championships and you're in the Big Ten conference and you get a major injury at the Big Ten conference, well, then we know that what you need during these 2 weeks before the NCAA championship so you can perform well is you need more rest than you need training. And you need to back away and start to restore and repair and heal and integrate all that good work that you've done, because the body, the brain, and the nervous system are all connected. And so the part of the process of training is the learning, right? And so there's a mental aspect to it. There's a part of the training that is emotional, which means there's a breath aspect to it. There's a part of the training that's physical, but there's a part of the training that's spiritual. Okay. And so you've got to be willing to look at, well, where's my life falling apart? Maybe you're supposed to meet your girlfriend or boyfriend at 7 o'clock for dinner and their parents, and you show up at 8:15 because you're so far behind. Right. And then you don't communicate to anyone that you're going to be late. Right. So just all these little behaviors that we have that get us out of balance are all signs that we've gone too far for too long and too fast. And we need to pull it back, put the foot on the brake, and lay down and do nothing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. Yes. Rest. Yep. So it sounds like you're saying the link here is sleep. Is there anything else other than sleep?
I mean, well, the first thing is awareness, right?
Okay.
That's the most important step. And then once you have the awareness, an honest conversation with yourself versus a dishonest conversation. Like, I was having a dishonest conversation, which allowed me to convince myself to continue to keep training harder, longer, and faster. Okay. And so if I would have had the awareness, boom, I have the pain. I'm aware that it's painful. And if I would have said, wow, Christopher, you're not supposed to have pain in your knee like that. What are you doing that's causing that? Then I would have had to have an honest conversation with myself and would said, wow, I think maybe I'm doing too much. Right. And so the first thing is be aware of the signs and symptoms your body's given you. Number two, have an honest conversation about those signs and those symptoms. And those symptoms and signs, they're not always physical. Sometimes they're emotional. Sometimes you feel depressed. Sometimes you feel hopeless. Sometimes you feel angry and frustrated. Sometimes you feel disconnected. And so look at that and have an honest assessment of what's going on. If your communication reduces, okay, if you're being less authentically self-expressed, you have to look at these things. Because most people think the first sign of overtraining is physical, and many times it's emotional. Other times it's psychological. Other times it's spiritual. Right? If I'm somebody who gives my word, and I built my self-esteem off of giving my word, and I told Mrs. Johnson I'm going to come help her, move some big items out of her garage on Saturday morning, and then I just don't show up. No call, don't show up because I'm still in bed. And I need to look at where am I breaking my word because of the overtraining,
Mm. Mm.
right? And so really it's about an honest self-assessment.
Do you
It,
think that athletes in general can have this over can do an honest assessment without a coach or something like you? I mean, whether it's their coach for their team or, an external coach, how many of them do
I
you think can do this self-assessment on their own?
I think that every athlete that's injured, that's pushing through an injury, is not having that conversation.
Right.
And they need to have someone who is helping guiding them and coaching. For instance, let's say I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. So I see their injuries all the time. I can see what's going on with their team and their guys, and
Mm.
I know it's because of all the overtraining.
Mm.
And I can tell you these guys aren't having that conversation because they're under the pressure to produce because some of them are being paid upwards of 20 to $50 million a year.
Mm.
So if they're not performing, they don't feel like they're earning their paycheck.
Or are they worried about being traded or contract, whatever? Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Whether
So
they're
when
yes,
so
I agree.
professional athletes
Mm.
have that pressure, and a day off is a day of training, is a day of performance, and they have to change their mindset to like, "Oh, I've been injured. My time off is well spent because now I can heal my body, and when I'm with the team, I could be more productive."
Right.
And so they
Yes.
have to look at
They
that
were taught
time
that.
off
Right.
as a performance, right?
Mhm.
Versus like, I'm not earning my paycheck because I'm not on the field. Well, if you're injured, don't get back on the field. Get as much time as you can from the coaching staff to repair yourself so that when you get on the field now, you're going to be a valuable asset.
Well, it's interesting, but my husband was a football player, and he tells me this story where his coach tell him he was hurt and injured, and his coach tell him to get on the field and play because the other teammates are looking for him for inspiration. And I know that one, I think Antonio Brown, quit one time because he said he was hurt, and the coach tell him to get on the field. So how much of that do you see, where the coaches are totally ignoring your pain and they're only interested in the performance?
Yeah, I think when you get into billion-dollar organizations, that dynamic changes and gets extremely dramatic. And then people make bad decisions when that's put upon them. And so if you're an owner and you're paying someone $30 million a year, the chances that the owners of those organizations or the GMs know the pains that these guys are actually under is a fallacy. It's a fantasy. There's no way they could know because that's not who they are. They're businessmen.
Yeah.
They know what it's like to be tired, right? They know what it's like to be falling asleep in meetings, right? They know what it's like to be drinking coffee all day long so they can pay
Good
attention to
energy.
all the
Right,
new
right.
data
Mhm.
that's there. But they don't know what it's like to be crashed into at 22 miles an hour, right?
Mm.
And
Mm. Mm.
so because they don't know that, they can put pressure on athletes to perform beyond their capacity, which then leads to more injury.
Yeah.
And so if you've just spent $500 million on a guy for a 10-year contract, that's an investment and you need to manage your investment well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a good message for the people who are in charge, right? Because also, I'm thinking of LeBron James and Tom Brady, the guys that have lasted a long time. And I know they've lasted, well, I shouldn't say it. I know they've lasted a long time because they take care of their body. And they do all the things to maintain, whether they're doing all the other parts of it, the spirituality and the sleeping and all the other things, but they probably have because they have lasted a long time in the game. um Again, quarterbacks don't get hit a lot. The linebackers, probably don't last 20 years being you're right. You just talked about what does it feel like to be, running with a truck or something like that. So yeah, well, actually, this is a good conversation. All right. So, you developed what you call a true body intelligence system. So, how does it help with the chronic pain? Our conversation is talking about balance here, sleep and fitness versus, health. So, tell us about your true body intelligence system and how you use it to make the complete athlete.
Yeah. So when we look at the human body, right, we have to understand how the body responds to stress. And the first thing that it does when my sleep is insufficient to recover from the day's stress from before, then my body will start to create an excessive amount of tension. Okay. So let's say I put out 100 watts of energy. I accumulated 25 watts of stress. Okay.
Mhm.
And now my sleep was sufficient and I was able to wake up and get 150 watts of rest. Right. So now my body's more balanced. It's restored. It's stronger. It's more capable. It's more present. Let's do the opposite. Let's say my sleep was insufficient and I only produced 75 watts of rest. Well, now I'm deficient. So the next day, that stress turns into tension
Mm.
because my body needs to figure out how do I store this? And it stores it into part of the body that's related to that type of stress. So for some people, they're going to store it in their upper body. Some people are going to store it in their lower body. Some people are going to store it in their back. Some people are going to store it in their hips. Some people are going to store it in their neck. Some people are going to store it in their brain. Wherever you store stress, it will eventually turn into tension if you don't take if you don't take the stress out from the day before. And so imagine someone's 35 years old, okay? And every year they've been accumulating a massive amount of stress that's turned into a little bit of tension. Well, 35 years of a little bit of tension is a lot of tension.
Mhm.
And that tension causes what you would term structural distortion. So now the bones are being held in fixed positions. The reason why you got the plantar fasciitis, which foot was the plantar fasciitis on?
Right.
Right foot. So that meant that the medial hamstring on the left leg and the quadricep on the right leg were too short. Okay. And that caused those bones to be turned in opposite directions of each other, which then meant every step that you took, you were driving force right on the insertion point for the tendons that run across the bottom of the foot. Right.
Mhm.
So I'm making it personal so that
Okay. Right. Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm.
so that you can follow it. Your body then is saying, hey, I hope you're willing to take a couple weeks off so then I can repair and get my body and
I never
keep
stopped
my nervous
walking.
system back in balance, right? So you're an ambitious person, right? So
I just love it.
you kept you
But anyway, yes.
persevering, meaning yet you continue to keep ignoring the body signals,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
So when you're doing that over time, your body will then take that injury and will push it into a different part of the body because now you're changing the way that you're walking.
Mm.
And now I'm in this compensation pattern. Once I start getting into compensation patterns, now everything starts shifting around. Next thing I know, I'm sniffling and my shoulders a little tight on the opposite side. And
When you get a little bit back
bye.
pain. Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
you get a little stiffness back there. So the
Right.
body's going to do everything at a subconscious level to manage your desires, your wants, and your dreams
Mhm.
with the amount of rest that you're giving it, the quality of nutrition that you're giving it, and the amount of activity and positive stress that you're giving it, plus also managing the negative stress. It's doing everything that it can to get you to live out your best life.
Mhm.
Well, what we want to do is we want to be able to maximize your potential. So then what would the prudent action be to take? The prudent action is very simple. You would go into your body and you would reduce the tension. Why? Because on the left is the unresolved stress. On the far right is the excessive structural distortion. What sits in the middle is physical tension. If I reduce the tension, I automatically change the distortion and I automatically reduce the stress at the same time. And so
So we reduce the tension by stretching?
we reduce the tension by using isometric, eccentric, and concentric contractions because the nerves run through the muscles. What happens when people are doing yogic postures and passive stretching, they're overstretching connective tissue. We never want our connective tissue to be long. We want our connective tissue to be short. Why? Because the body's designed to hold a healthy amount of tension. It's called tenacity.
Okay.
So I want to be engaged in activity going through contractions, 3 different types of contractions. I want to contract maximally while my muscles lengthening. I want to contract maximally while my muscles shortening. And I want to contract maximally at the end of the range of motion on both ends. So when I'm closing and when I'm opening. So the entire time I want to be under maximal contraction. If I'm under maximal contraction, I can pull my bones right back into the proper alignment and I can immediately reduce the amount of stress that was pulling them out of alignment, putting them in a state what we call malalignment.
Okay.
And the symptoms, they disappear. Why do they disappear? Because I simultaneously removed the distortion and removed the lifetime accumulated stress by removing the tension that's sitting firmly in the middle. And now blood, chi, energy, lymph, and electricity will flow through my body unencumbered. And when it's unencumbered, because the blood has the nutrients inside of it to help me heal, repair, restore, integrate, and balance again, I'm going to move into a higher state of emotional function, psychological function, energetic spiritual function, and physiological, structural, and instinctual function. And if I can do that on a semi-regular basis, I can start to increase my intelligence physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And now I'm moving into a life expression that is beyond where my peers are because I'm able to become more enlightened. I'm able to become more aware. I'm able to become more conscious, and I'm able to become more awake. And if I'm conscious, awake, aware, and enlightened, I can achieve and experience whatever it is I'm desiring, wanting, and needing for myself to feel good about where I'm going and what I'm doing and how I'm being while I'm doing what I'm doing.
Amazing. Now you said you called this something and I missed it. What is it you're calling this? What is the term that you're using for this exercise or stretching or whatever you're calling
I
it?
call it bestercise.
What?
Bestercise.
Mestercise?
Best. B-E-S-T. Best.
Okay.
I'm the best.
Okay.
Bestercise. Why? Because bestercises are bioenergetic, self-transformational sequences. And while we're in a position, we're using all 3 forms of contraction at maximal effort to strengthen, to lengthen, and to recruit more energy, more tissue, more consciousness, more intelligence. And if we do that again and 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 again, we end up with a body that is fluid, strong, and capable, meaning steel wrapped in silk.
Wow. I love it. I love it. Okay. So where can our listeners reach you to get into this, you know, to learn how to do this best contractual things, the body intelligence system. That's probably easier for me to say, right?
Yeah. They can go to truebodyintelligence.com. And the first step would be to read the book, right? Free for Life. and start to educate themselves. And then once they get the education, then they're going to go, oh, I think I get what he's saying. Now I just need someone to teach me. And then I can lead them out to one of my practitioners wherever they live in the world, and they can go learn.
Okay. Wow. So that's amazing. So are you saying this system is for everybody or just athletes that are trying to get to the optimal level?
No, everyone.
Everyone. Okay.
Typically, I don't usually like working with athletes. And the reason why I don't like working with athletes is because it's like they come to me when they have problems,
Yes.
right?
They've already stressed out their body. Right.
Yes, right? And
Mhm.
then I put them back together, and then they go out and they create another problem, right?
It's true.
And so I like working with entrepreneurs, right? People
Yeah.
who are coaches, people who are leaders, people who are inspirers, people who want to help other people grow beyond their limitations. I like working with single moms. I like working with, very dramatic cases, people who have been through very difficult things in life and haven't lost their way. They still have the heart. They still have the motivation. They want to serve other people powerfully. Those are the people that I want to serve.
Okay. Well, that's good. Yeah, which brings us full circle to our last conversation, but issues in your tissues. We're talking about joints now before we were talking about the fascia and your tissues. But it's the same thing. You put the stress in your body and you put your stress because you're not restoring. So it keeps accumulating because you just have the deficit. So that's amazing. All right. So that's awesome. Wow. Yes, you do good work, Christopher.
Thank you. Yeah, because the true body intelligence methodologies create instantaneous permanent change.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's no one else out there that can say that.
Right. Right. Right.
Instantaneous, permanent change.
Yes.
If I was investing my time, my energy, my effort, but mostly my money, right? I would want something that was instantaneous and permanent.
Yes. 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 I love that. I love that. All right, guys. So yeah, so I will have a um summary of my conversation with Christopher on the show page, which is myhelps.us. I will link out to his website, which is truebodyintelligence.com. I would also link out to his book, which is Free for Life, so that you guys can pick up those tools and learn how to have instantaneous response. We talked today about, putting stress on your body and not having a full, complete health system. And I love that. I've never heard anybody that broke down health like that. People are always looking at your vitals as an indication of your health. What is your blood pressure? What are your A1C or something, metabolic health. But nobody normally talks about all the levels of health, your spiritual health, your psychological health, your structural health, all these different things. So it's great that Christopher has made us aware, which is, he says, the first step, awareness that this is what health is. And health is not, running a marathon and don't looking after all the other things and you think you're healthy because you've got cardiovascular health. That's why you can run a marathon. So awesome. I enjoyed my conversation, Christopher. I know you have to run. So as we wrap up, any last words?
Yeah, just, day by day, step by step, find the courage inside of yourself to take a risk, to feel as good as you can possibly feel. Because when you feel better, you do better.
Yes, yes. And one of the things that I like, that I take away from is, yes, pain is the last indication. I know I just went to the doctor last week because I had a pain in my foot and I've been ignoring it for a while. And I said to her, well, this is an indication that something's wrong. I'm not going to ignore it any longer. She couldn't figure it out. But anyway, yeah, so yes, I'm aware myself that pain is telling you something. So if there's anything that I can add is, yes, your body is telling you something when you're in pain. And like you said, it's not the first indication, which people think, but it's the last indication. So if
Yeah.
there's one thing I want to leave with you is that if you feel pain, pay attention to it. All right. Yes. So, all right. Well, listen, thank you, Christopher, for being on the show again. Love our repeat guests. And thank you guys for tuning in to this week's episode of Transform Your Mind so that you can transform your life. Christopher, thanks again. Until next time, namaste.
Namaste.